You go to your closet, you take half the clothes. If you have two cars, you take one car. If you have, four pairs of shoes, two of those are gone, right? Everything he cut it in half. Dishes, everything. And he said, I can, even though they used to live very humbly at the time, he said, I can be patient in less than this. So half of it all for the sake of Allah. Now Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu, here Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam asks him, what did you leave at home? Nothing. Allah and His Messenger. And that is a level of patience that higher. Every single thing he had, he gave for the sake of Allah at one time. And he did this repeatedly. Now I ask you, did the children of Abu Bakr starve? No. Umar ibn Abdul Aziz, when he was the Khalifa, when he was, as in American terms you could say, or Canadian terms, you could say he was the king, eh? So when he was the leader of the Muslim Ummah, he was in charge of a large part of the world. In the time of Umar Abdul Aziz, the Muslim Ummah had spread into parts of what is current day Europe, obviously the Middle East, much of what is current day Africa, much of what's in Southeast Asia. In the time of Umar Abdul Aziz, all this had spread. So at that time, he had at his command lots of wealth and power. And when he was dying, Umar Abdul Aziz, he wasn't leaving anything behind. So people told him, look, because he was poisoned, he wasn't like an old age, only after 2.5 years of ruling. They told him, you should leave something for your children. He said, if my children are pious, Allah will take care of them. And if my children are not pious, if they're wicked, then why would I leave them wealth to use for wickedness? And the other muluk at the time, the other kings at that time, they left lots of gold and silver and all kinds of wealth behind. They said within the span of the children's lives, you saw the children of those that did dhulm, that oppressed and gathered the money and left it for their children, begging in the streets of Damascus. Begging in the streets. Even though so much money had been left. And they said they saw the children of Umar Abdul Aziz, that Allah had blessed their wealth, that they would get up and give 100 horses or 100 camels for the sake of Allah in one go. So what does that tell you? When you are patient, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala blesses you. When you are able to be steadfast, Allah will test you. Every one of us will get tested. Each one of us sitting here is being tested. Some by health, some by family issues, some by wealth, some by struggles, some with the waswas of shaitan, some with this, some with that. Each one of us. How can we defeat every enemy? With patience. Patience. Isbiru. Wasabiru. Rabitu. And then ribat. What is ribat? To hold the boundaries. Where Allah made haram, we say okay. Look, maybe your boss comes to you and says, hey, I really like you. Let's go out drinking tonight. We're going to hit the pub, the bar, and you know that it's going to build bond and maybe he'll promote you and you want to get promoted. You want to do good at work. We get it. But you draw a line. No, I can't go clubbing with you, bro. That's the haram line. What are you going to do? I'm going to be patient. And have that taqwa of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That Allah sees me. That if I break that line, Allah will not increase my rizq. Rather, I will be harmed by it. When the issue of riba comes, many people don't understand this. Riba destroys your wealth. Riba harms you. When you look at it from the outside, it seems like you're getting more. Right? You give somebody $10, they give you 12 back. You're like, yes, I made $2. But the haram of the riba makes it that $10 is not even going to be worth $10. Some hardship will come, some problem will come, That barakah will be gone. You'll start struggling somewhere else. Right? And when you do it, qard al-hasana, when you give someone just for the benefit of getting that reward, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala blesses the wealth, so it increases. So it becomes more. So even when you have little, you can do a lot. Subhanallah, I mean, I don't mean this from like a theory perspective. I mean this as somebody who lives in this country, in America, I mean, right, who goes through the same struggles as you. You know, I work at a medical device company. I'm not a professional imam. Even though I'm imam for masjid, I don't get paid. I don't get paid for da'wah, any of that. At my work, one of the jobs I worked at, one of my bosses who made 4 times my salary, made much more money than me. He was my boss. One day he said, you know what? Nobody here is debt free. Everybody's got debt. I told him, not me. Alhamdulillah, I'm debt free. He told me, no, you have debt. I told him, I don't have debt. He goes, you don't have a mortgage? I told him, no. So you don't have a car payment? Nope. If I can't afford the car, I don't need it. If I can afford it, I'll buy it. Alhamdulillah, whatever Allah blesses me with. Yeah. He told me, how can you live in America and you don't have a mortgage and you don't rent and you don't have a car payment? He goes, even my coffee table I bought on interest. Even his coffee table he bought on installments. Nowadays, when you go to Amazon, Amazon, they have a thing, if you can't afford that $10, cup, whatever set, you can buy it on installments. If you can't afford $10, it's okay, you don't need it. So this is from a practical. So when I started talking to him, he told me, look, it's impossible. You live in a nice neighborhood, you drive a good car, it's impossible. I told him, no, I've never dealt with interest. I've never had a credit card. I mean, I've got a debit card, but I don't have a credit card. I've never had a car payment. I used to go to work in a city bus. And when I started talking to him, he was shocked. Until at the end of the conversation, he told me, give me a Quran. I gave him a Quran. He didn't take a shahada. It's not a YouTube video. I'm telling you, it's the way it is. But alhamdulillah, you see, that concept of the Quran, we see it in our lives. The Prophet ﷺ, I mean, when you and me are going through our daily struggles, think back to the seerah. Think back to this. The Prophet ﷺ, he is the best of mankind. Today, if one of you walks in and somebody snubs you, doesn't really kind of give you the proper greeting kind of a thing, Many of us, may Allah forgive us, will be like, wait, can you see me? You know who I am? I'm a doctor. Oh, okay. I'm an engineer. I'm on the board. I'm this. I drive a Ferrari. How dare you? Like we all have our own. And everybody has their own, by the way. And everybody has their own delusions of grandeur, But Rasul ﷺ was the best of mankind. Bila fakhr, not in a way of trying to boast, but he was. Sayyid ibn Adam, he was the leader of all of the children of Adam ﷺ. He was Imam al-Anbiya. He's the one that led all of the Anbiya in Salah. He is the first one that will be granted the shifa' on the day of judgment. Like, imagine that he's the last of the prophets, the final brick in the perfection of the house of prophethood. Right? Imagine that status, and here you're being told, go to the people, قُمْ فَأَنذِرْ وَرَبَّكَ فَكَبِّرْ. Go and warn the people and speak about the greatness of your Lord. And now, the people in the streets are attacking you. How easy would it be to give up? Imagine, not me and you, we're nobodies. But you are the last of the prophets, the one that was sent on Al-Isra al-Mi'raj. And you are going to Ta'if, and the people of Ta'if are sending the children and the lowly people to throw rocks at you. And blood is flowing from your head. Alayhi salatu wasalam. Look at that sacrifice. Look at that patience. Look at that iman. Look at that akhlaq. Blood is flowing from your head and filling up your shoes. And you have that ability. Brothers, move forward. I don't want to interrupt the khutbah again. But please, I see a lot of room. Sit tight. COVID rules are over. Inshallah, brothers are standing. So imagine now where the blood is flowing from his head, alayhi salatu salam, and it's filling up his feet. His shoes are being filled with blood. And they're throwing rocks and mocking you. And now, at that juncture, at that point in time, you have the haqq, you have the right and the qudra, the ability to destroy this town. Hey, think about this. You have the haqq, you presented the message, they rejected it, they act in a foul manner. As a Nabi of Allah, you have the authority there now to make dua against them. Like Nuh alayhi salam, he made dua against his people, they finished. Lut alayhi salam made dua against his people, they finished. Salih alayhi salam, yani if you look at the aqwam before, the Anbiya, if they presented that message and they didn't listen and the time was up, they would make dua and khalas. So here now Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam has that point in time, he has the haqq, and the malaika come to him and tell him, make the dua, we'll do it right now, we'll destroy them, we'll finish them. What did he do? He raised his hands and he made dua, oh Allah, I complain to you for my own shortcomings. I didn't do a good enough job. And I make dua that if not them, then from their lineage, from their children will be the people of Tawheed, the people of Iman, believers. You know, when you read Islamic history, when you read Ilm al-Rijal, like the narrators in Hadith, and when you read about Tariq and generals, and when you see al-Thaqafi, those are the people of Ta'if. How many great warriors, how many great scholars, how many great Muslim personalities came out of Ta'if, which would have been destroyed. None of them would have come if it wasn't for the sabr, the patience of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. My brothers and sisters in Islam, as a closing note and reminder, I want to remind myself and you of a short surah of the Quran as I recited in the beginning. But don't take it lightly. Don't take this surah light. Imam al-Shafi'i and other A'imma and Ulama, they used to say that if this was the only thing revealed, it would be enough. And they would write, as Ibn Kathir and others have mentioned, that this surah was so important that the Sahaba would never sit with each other in a majlis, in a gathering, except that they would recite this surah before ending the majlis. And this is Surah Asr. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He takes a qasam. He takes an oath by wal asr, by time. Inna al-insana lafi khusr. What does Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tell us? That the default is mankind is in loss. We're all lost. Everybody's lost in their own world. Everybody's greedy. Everybody's looking for self-interest. Everybody's looking to get ahead. Everybody's looking to make a quick whatever. This is the default of human nature, which we find amplified in what you would call pure capitalism. Like none of our countries are purely capitalistic. We all have safe nets and guards in place. But if you left it at big fish eats little fish, that's what you would have, right? So many of these countries, they want you to do the me, myself, and I'm number one. So this is the default, that we are putting ourselves at destruction. But then there are those that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala saves. And He gives us 4 qualities. Each one of us today from this khutbah should think, do I have all 4 of these in me? Because this is the shart to be saved from being destroyed. What is the first? إِلَّا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا. Iman, your aqidah, your belief. How you recognize and relate with Allah, and what you believe about the Anbiya and the Malaika. The arkan of Iman, and Iman increasing and decreasing. If you don't know it, you should study it, because each one of us must concentrate on that first and foremost. Secondly, Amilus Salihat. It's not enough for me to just be like, I'm Muslim, I'm going to heaven, it's free. No, it's not a joke. As a Muslim, we strive and struggle to do good, to better ourselves. We don't just say, this guy died for my sins. No. We know that Allah holds us accountable. Allah is merciful. He forgives. But we need to try. We need to implement that knowledge. We need to bring that good deeds into our lives. But even if you have Iman, and even if you're making salah and fasting Ramadan and giving sadaqah, is that enough? No. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala continues, وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالْحَقِّ. You have to call towards the haqq, towards the truth, towards Tawheed, towards Islam, towards the Quran, towards the Sunnah, towards the Sharia. What Allah has ordained is the haqq. You have to. Whether it's you speaking to somebody, or spreading the da'wah videos, or participating and financially, so whatever you can do, you have to be a part of that. Tawasaw bil haqq. And then there is one more, which many of us forget. وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالصَّبْرِ. And you call towards sabr, towards being patient. Sabrun jameel. The sabr that we find in Yaqub alayhi salam, where it's a sabr without complaining. It's a sabr. It's not being patient if you go off and cuss and curse qadar, na'udhu billah, and say, why me? And then when you can't do anything else, you're like, I'm being patient. No, you just got no other path. Patience is when you don't complain. Patience is when you accept the qadr. A woman was crying once. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was passing behind her. He told her, be patient. She didn't recognize that it was the Prophet alayhi salatu. She had her back. So her child had died. That's a very difficult thing to deal with. So she said, don't tell me, because you haven't been through what I've been through. You don't know my pain. To the meaning of the hadith. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam kept walking. When they found out, when she was told that this is the Prophet ﷺ, she went to apologize. And he educated her. He told her patience is at the first point of calamity. When that hardship hits and you're patient, that is sabr. That is the true patience. So we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make us all patient. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to protect us all. أقول قولي هذا أستغفر الله إن الله غفور رحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، والصلاة والسلام على خاتم الأنبياء أشرف المرسلين وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين. يا أول الأولين، يا آخر الآخرين، يا ذو القوة المتين، يا رب العالمين، فاغفر لنا وارحمنا إنك أنت الغفور الرحيم. اللهم اجعلنا من الصابرين، اللهم اجعلنا من الصابرين، اللهم اجعلنا من الصابرين، اللهم اجعلنا من المتطهرين من المتقين يا رب العالمين. اللهم اغفر لنا وارحمنا إنك أنت الغفور الرحيم. ظلمنا أنفسنا ظلم كثير ولا يغفر الذنوب إلا أنت فاغفر لنا وارحمنا إنك أنت الغفور الرحيم. اللهم نعوذ بك من عذاب القبر، اللهم نعوذ بك من عذاب الجهنم، اللهم نعوذ بك من عذاب الجهنم وما قرب إليها من قول أو عمل. اللهم نسألك الجنة، اللهم نسألك الجنة لنا ولوالدينا ولمن له حقا علينا. اللهم نسألك الجنة وما قرب إليها من قول أو عمل. اللهم اغفر لنا، اللهم اشف مرضانا واغفر موتانا واغفر لنا يا رب العالمين. وأخي قم الصلاة.